It's another edition of Average Sports by some average guys. By Eric and Ty. I'm Ty.
I'm Eric. What's up?
Well, what is up? We're going to catch everyone up on the sports world, news, whatever. We're just going to be talking about it in an average way. We may not know all the details, but we're going to give you our takes on things. And, you know, in this episode, we got some good stuff. We're going to talk about the NBA current standings and who we like heading into the playoffs. We got some MLB news. We're going to make a debate on maybe some pace of change, calls, rules, regulations that we'd like to either see added in or, yeah, we'll discuss it. And also talking about the NCAA tournament. But you know what we're not talking about?
Man, we are not talking about Tiger Woods, y'all.
Oh, my gosh. You know, just we'll see him out on the green. Let's just say that. All right. Moving on. How's that bracket doing of yours, Eric?
Dude, my bracket's doing all right, man. Other than the South.
You survive it?
The South is really messing me up.
Yeah, how's that North Carolina
I can't really say I'm surviving the South, but I don't know that anyone else is either, so it's kind of a wash, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. If someone can get out of the bracket picks with a 50%, I think, that's a pretty good year for 2018. If you can get half your picks right, that's like feels like it's really good. Anyway, hey, let's catch some people up on the NFL free agency. What's going on?
Yeah, so free agency. There was a lot of stuff that happened since last time we talked.
Oh, my goodness.
A lot of quarterbacks on the move. Most notably, you have Kirk Cousins going out there to Minnesota for a full guaranteed contract. We touched base on that a little bit and a little earlier in one of our shows about Kirk Cousins and where he might go. And Minnesota was one of the teams that we had mentioned along with a few others. But besides Kirk Cousins, you have some other big names out there that went other places. Allen Robinson left Jacksonville. Tyrann Mathieu got cut from the Cardinals, which was such a weird, it
is a strange move because
there.
He's clearly a talented guy, and he's going to be able to contribute, you would think, in any ball club. So you have to think that's something to do in the locker room, maybe a personality thing or just someone he and a coach somewhere don't really get along, it seems like.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that because he's, they made an investment in bringing in Sam Bradford. Everyone seems to want to just give him more and more money. I don't know why, but they made the investment there and then they cut Tyrann Mathieu. I'm not entirely sure about that.
I think because his Madden stats were so good that they want to just keep giving him money. You're like, yeah, no, the computers were right about him. We're going to prove the world. I think that's all that's going on there. Yeah. What are some other ones that you like? I saw that Michael Crabtree is heading over to Baltimore. I thought that's an interesting move. They need some offense.
Yeah, the one that I actually really liked was, I'm going to say, the team that just lost Michael Crabtree. I love the Jordy Nelson signing for
there
Oakland.
You go. Okay.
To go ahead and bring in a very experienced receiver, given he had a very down year last year and he's, Aaron Rodgers' buddy. So I guess we'll see if they have the chemistry there with Derek Carr. But I think that's a really good signing for them to lose who was their best receiver in Michael Crabtree over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Do you think Green Bay is going to be all right, or are they going to head into a tough year? Because we saw what they were.
Green Bay's. Yeah, I like the signing that they had with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham is essentially the same player as Jordy Nelson, but substantially taller and younger, and doesn't seem to have all the health issues that Jordy Nelson has been plagued with the last couple of years. So I really like the signing for Oakland, but I love the upgrade that the Packers went ahead and did with Jimmy Graham too.
Those are good points. I like it. Let's move on to our first topic of the episode tonight. We are talking the NCAA tournament. If you guys have not seen much of the games, you are missing out on one of the most thrilling national tournaments, I think, in all of history. And I think that's easily an argument because the 16 seed, UMBC, beating out Virginia, and so many other upsets, like the Buffalo win over Arizona. So that's, again, staying in the South.
Arizona,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
we saw Marshall take down
Chicago
Wichita
there.
State. Yeah, some good ones.
On the other side, then you have the play-in 11-seed Syracuse, which we talked about on our bracket special there.
Yeah.
Watch out for those play-in 11s because one of them every year since they've had it make it to the Sweet 16, and it's Syracuse this year. So that trend continues.
Yeah, I'm basically already going to send an 11 seed next year into the Sweet 16. Like, just automatic. Gotta pick one of them and just send them.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Seems to be working.
It would seem to be working. So give me some reactions on what we're going to see in the Sweet 16. What do you like? What are you surprised about?
I mean, obviously, I'm very surprised about the South and the teams that you still have playing. You have Nevada, Loyola, Kentucky, and Kansas State, and you read those names off. You're like, well, Kentucky belongs.
Sure.
But other than that, none of the other schools really are teams you would expect to be there. But out of the South, I'm going to go ahead and take Kentucky. Out of the West, I like Gonzaga or Michigan to end up moving on to the finals from there. And I'm going to go ahead and take the Zags now that UNC is out of that bracket over there, the number 2 seed. And then I'm going to go ahead and take Duke out of the Midwest, which was one of my final 4 appearances initially anyway. And then I'm jumping on your bandwagon for Texas Tech.
You started watching them, right? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, after you called me out on it, I started watching a little Texas Tech, and they are resilient as you had mentioned. And so I'm going to jump on the Texas Tech bandwagon to get out of
those kids seem like they're eating nails before the games, and they're just coming onto the court ready to battle. I mean, they play a tough game, and I think that's my favorite matchup coming down into the Sweet 16 for sure, Texas Tech and Purdue. I really like what Purdue was able to put together as well against Butler, being down. Their star center, the senior, what's his name, Has. Yeah, a couple of A's in there. And then they get the freshman to come out, and he shows up. The dude can ball, and he'd only had like a few minutes on average every game of the season. Like at most, like 2 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, he was obviously not playing a lot with Haas taking up the majority of those minutes there. He was obviously just a role player and a bench player when he was in foul trouble or just trying to mix some things up. So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays, against really good competition moving forward here. So we'll, especially getting the minutes to go with it too. He's not just playing 10 minutes anymore. He's playing 25, 30 minutes maybe. So
yeah. So I don't know if I like Texas Tech or even Purdue to make it to the finals, but I do like the chances for one of them getting into the Final Four. But I think that road is going to run into West Virginia or Villanova, if I'm not mistaken, and that is going to mean a tough matchup to come into the Elite Eight. So I think I still like Villanova to still take the whole tournament at this point. But we'll see, and we'll catch you guys up later on and see how we do. Just for the record, I've been doing way better than Eric on the brackets. Just had to throw that out there.
Yes, that's true.
Don't listen to this guy. What else we were going to talk about for this show was changing from some high-octane excitement, NCAA, NFL, to a little MLB. We're going to slow things down. We're going to talk about pace of play rules because they do want to be a more mass appeal type of sport, which you can kind of say what you want. I am on the fence, not on the fence, I'm on the side of the fence that it would say if you don't like how slow the game is played, then you're just not a baseball fan, and that's the way it is. But we have some new rules coming in for the season nonetheless, so let's get into it. What do you think of some of these changes? Like, not getting to meet at the mound, I think, is the biggest one.
Yeah, the too many meetings at the mound and a 15-second pitch clock are definitely clear impacts on them trying to speed up the game.
Yeah.
And really make it a little bit quicker and a little bit more exciting for, the average fan that is not necessarily fully invested in the sport, like you had mentioned. I think those two... Yeah, they're going to try and implement them in the minor leagues. I mean, they have a pitch clock in the major leagues now. I can't really say that I notice much of a difference between pace of play from what it was to what it is now. I'd have to look at some
and I actually
to see if that's going to impact it.
I do happen to like, even though I just said that if you don't want the game, if you want the game to go faster, then you maybe baseball's not for you type of thing. I do happen to like the rule that they're going to minimize the amount of times you can go out to the mound. I just think automatically that's going to create a new challenge for teams to have to build new signs. They're going to be constantly trying to communicate away from having to hold these meetings that do kind of take a break from the actual game being played. I don't really want to watch a sport of meetings. I don't mind 9 guys standing around waiting for a ball to get hit, but when you have 6 of them standing around on a dirt mound and you don't get to be part of that conversation, I think that's where you get some of that disconnect. And as a fan, I love baseball. I want to start seeing the pitches. And to me, I don't care if you take a few seconds in between, especially if you're laboring, you've been in the game for a long time. I don't care if it goes kind of slow, but every time when it's an important at bat and you get the catcher to come out and then they're going to discuss the next couple of plays, I'm okay with it. I think it brings on new challenges. I'm excited to see if that really makes much of an impact during this year. What they really need to do is really speed up video replay.
Yeah, video replay definitely takes quite a bit of time, and I get the reason for it. And the purpose for it, especially behind some of those close calls you might have at first or another bag or to determine if something was a home run or not. But, yeah, there needs to be a quicker way to get through that.
Yeah. I would really also like to see the idea of maybe introducing tied baseball games and cut all regular season games at the 12th inning. If you're still tied then, just call the game. It's a tie. I heard a pretty interesting stat. Somewhere around 1 or 2% of all MLB games in a season actually go that far in length. So why not, bring that in? I think if you want, it doesn't necessarily associate completely to the pace during the game, but it will certainly limit how long a game can play, and I would be okay with that.
Definitely agree with you there. The 12 innings is good. I'm fine with ties in baseball. Yeah. I know purists. I'm surprised you're actually on board with that, but I know purists are probably.
I heard the argument one time, and it's like, I don't need to see a 19-inning baseball game. You can just go back to the ballpark the next day. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
there's going to be another game. All right, let's move on from this topic. Why don't we look at some NBA standings? What do you say?
Yeah, man, let's go ahead and get those NBA standings rolling here. So,
pick a conference.
As we go ahead. I'm sorry, what was that, Ty? Oh, pick a conference.
Pick a conference.
I thought you said something completely different about the standings here. So I'm going to go ahead and take the East. But you obviously have already had 2 teams clinch, and that's Toronto and Boston up there at the top, number 1 and number 2. And then in the middle of the pack there, you have a very tight middle of the pack from number 3 on down. To number 8, you got Cleveland, Indiana, Washington, Philly, and Miami, and then that pretty much is going to round it out here for who's going to actually be in the playoffs. You have a bunch of teams already eliminated: Atlanta, Orlando, Brooklyn, Chicago, New York, and
we'll
Charlotte and Detroit aren't too far behind.
Yeah, and in the West, the Wild West, still only separated by just 4 games from the 3rd to the 8th place, which is Portland, OKC, Utah, New Orleans, San Antonio, and Minnesota in that order. Denver's still in the bubble. They can certainly make it in with a few more games left. Houston and Golden State are sitting at the top of that division. No big surprise there. I like Houston's chances, but Golden State, I bet in the finals, going against Boston.
I think that's a pretty good call there. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if it were Toronto or Cleveland. As well as Cleveland has been playing since the trade deadline. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised on either of them as well.
All right. Well, last thoughts on our show. How about best game to watch for the NCAA tournament coming up in the Sweet 16?
I think you had already touched on it a little bit, but it's Texas Tech and Purdue. Outside of that, I actually think an interesting one is going to be the Syracuse and Duke matchup to see if we can go a little bit further there.
That is an interesting
with the Syracuse Magical Run, or if the Blue Devils are going to put a kibosh on that.
All right. Well, I'll watch mine. You watch yours. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Eric, for hanging out. And that's it.
No worries, man. Thank you, Ty. Yeah, and guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and we'll see you guys next time on the show when we talk a lot about the NHL playoffs.
That's
see you
Average
guys.
Sports with Average Guys.